What's going on there, folks? Good evening. It's the Earthmaster back here on this Wednesday night, February 22nd, it's 2023. I think I'm still in the right year. 9:22 p.m. here along the West Coast in California. And the latest earthquake activity shows a 3.2. Looks like down into the area of South America. Seen a little bit of uptick around the globe today. We'll get to that here in just a second. First, I kind of want to chat about, what's going on with the weather. And we're expecting some rather low snow levels out here along the West Coast, including some heavy rainfall down south around Los Angeles. This is all due to a significant low-pressure trough here. Going to be centered roughly over Northern California, Southern Oregon area. And this is just going to spin just off the coast of Northern California here in Thursday into Friday, bringing with it some much colder air down into portions of Southern California. We're looking at some significant rainfall and some snowfall there into the area of Southern California. This is the next 3 days of rainfall accumulation. This is just rainfall. Look at areas around Los Angeles into the mountainous areas, looking at quite a few inches of much needed rainfall here for the folks, and some very, very cold temperatures out there. Some of the coldest temperatures we've seen in many years across the area of Los Angeles and down into Southern California. Now, we're still looking at some significant snowfall expected to take place in California. This is the HRR model. Now, this is the more accurate model in determining what's going on out here as far as rainfall accumulation, thunderstorm activity, snowfall events, and including wind events as well. So, Northern California, I still think we have a pretty good shot here of seeing some snowfall here into the northern end of the Sacramento Valley. That includes Chico, Willows, even Redding area as well. I know Hurricane Heather was asking about this. I think we're probably going to get somewhere between 6 to 9 inches up there around Redding. Here in the northern Sacramento Valley, a couple inches of accumulated snow is expected. It's been consistent as far as the weather models go. A lot of times we'll look at these weather models and they'll be inconsistent with one another. But all three of these guys are in agreement. Here is the next 3 days on the GFS model. This is a little overblown, I think. They're showing somewhere around over a foot of snow for Redding area. The ECM WF model, which is the European model, still in agreement with some snow, but also I think a little bit of overblown there, and 14 inches up around Redding. That would be a little crazy. And also around Willows be like 5 inches. So all three of these weather models are definitely in agreement in terms of snowfall, low elevation snowfall here for the valley. Specifically around Chico, looks like maybe towards the foothills area and around the community 7 to 8 inches. That's what they're claiming here on the HRR model. And this is all set up. It's got a lot to do with timing. This is going to take place roughly Thursday into Friday morning, between 6 and 9 o'clock Friday morning. So look for that. I think we have a good shot of seeing some snowfall in the valley. Up in the mountains, definitely a good chance. There's all sorts of winter storm warnings out here for Northern California. Looking at the area of the West Coast, up here in Northern California, obviously we got a winter storm warning here for my area, and of course the northern Sacramento Valley and all of these communities here in Northern Cal. Very rare to see that down here in the valley. And what they're stating here, accumulating snow is possible. Snow accumulations of 1 to 6 inches possible in the northern Sacramento Valley and along the western foothills here of Northern California. Not a whole lot of snow. Well, let's see what we got here for the model of San Francisco. I'm kind of curious about that. Someone was asking, could we get snow in the Bay Area? Well, got to remember the Pacific Ocean is relatively warm in terms to the colder air that's moving in. I don't jump in the Pacific because it's too cold even in the summertime, but it's relatively warm according to the colder air that's coming in. By the way, last time San Francisco saw some snowfall was back in February 1976, 1976 of February. That's 47 years ago. So a lot of time has passed there. These weather models are showing potential snow down into the Bay Area. So it's been a while since I've seen any of this type of setup with this amount of cold air coming in to the West Coast. So this is going to be rather interesting. I'm going to stay up all night here Thursday night. And I know I'm crazy, but I'm crazy like that because I'm a big weather fan. And these rare events of snowfall in unusual areas is highly of interest to me. So I'm going to be out there covering this specifically here around the Chico area in Northern California come early Friday morning. So look for that on the live stream. But the Bay Area, yeah, maybe. Just maybe there's a chance of seeing that around the San Francisco Bay. Further down south, far as snowfall goes, of course, around the Grapevine, the mountainous areas here north of Los Angeles, yes. Los Angeles, not so much. It would take a brutal of a cold system to get down there. And they have had snow in Los Angeles. It's not unheard of. It's just been quite a while, just similar to San Francisco. Now, what is going on down there in the Southern California area is, well, we've got some flood watches going on due to the excessive rainfall that's expected with this incoming storm system. We're talking about rainfall rates of half an inch to 0.6 of an inch per hour. Again, some of those rainfall models showing between 5 or 6 inches of a total rainfall accumulation in this area of Southern California. So watch for that. But again, this is much needed for the area of Southern California. A little bit further north of Los Angeles, or just to the northeast in the mountains here, blizzard warning, flood watch, and a winter storm warning. So there's a bunch of stuff going on out there in Southern California that's stirring up a lot of interest in the weather right now. So we'll continue to watch that, folks, and see how this plays out. I really I want to show you guys the couple different models. Okay, so we look at one model and compare it to the other model and compare it to another model, and we get an average of percentages. Let's see where we're at here. Bring this up here real quick. Go back here to the southwest area. I tend to use that. Southwest. And we'll look at the GFS, of course, is going to show broad scale areas of precipitation and snow. But we're looking at the NAM 3KM model here. And this is a little bit more accurate, similar to the HRR model, which is the high resolution radar imagery. And we're going to bring it up here to right about, Thursday night into early Friday morning here. Now there's still, I need to blow this up here just a little bit. There we go. Northern California here in the Sacramento Valley. This is going to show the rainfall coming in, but also at the same time, it looks as though this is going to potentially switch over to snow early Friday morning around a good portion of Chico area, Glenn County, and northward. And it could be some heavy snow at times. There's a pretty thick line here in Colusa County, eastern Glenn County, up into Chico that could drop a bunch of snow in a short amount of time. So this is, this is something that I am very intrigued in, far as the potential of what this storm system can bring to Northern California. Far as the snowfall here goes. Up in the mountains, you guys are just going to get hammered. And look at that impressive system down here in the Southern California. A very sharp line of heavy precipitation moving into the Los Angeles area. And, of course, some blizzard conditions north of there. All making for quite a dandy of a storm. We just don't see this too often. Somebody's calling it about, I can't remember who it was. Maybe a once-in-a-20-year event. Last time I seen snowfall out here, specifically where I live, just outside of Chico, was back in 2001 here in the Sacramento Valley. So that tells you, folks, that it's very rare. Oops, we don't need no soundings because we're not really looking at any severe storms out here in California. Aside from winter, when I consider severe storms, I think of tornadoes and whatnot, but all right, let's see what else do we have here, folks. It's going to be a very interesting Thursday And try and get some sleep before then, I hope. Earthquake activity. Man, big one out here around Tajikistan. See that 6.8? And I'm questionable on that. Tajikistan. I can't remember which one. I know we've been criticized quite a bit here in the comments about the correct pronunciation, but man, this is one of the ones I forget. So one of those two, Tajikistan. I believe it's Tajikistan. So 6.8 earthquake coming in earlier this afternoon. That has been followed up by quite a bit of broad earthquake activity across the region of this area, including some 5s and 4s kicking off here. And there's been quite a bit of more aftershock activity in terms of smaller magnitudes. As you can see here on the EMSC model, is quite the earthquake kicking up out here. That is just off of the plate boundary that sits where we at here? Let's see exactly where we're at. We got India down here to the south, the Himalayas. This is a major area in terms of historical data with far as large-scale earthquake activity goes. There's a subduction zone that sits up here, northern India plate, and around the Himalayas. That's why we're getting the, obviously the buildup of the mountains and the stress. But this is a rather large earthquake, 20 kilometers deep. And I don't remember the last time we've seen a large earthquake. I know we've had some over here in eastern Afghanistan, but specifically in this area, well, let's check it out and see what we got here. I'm going to check out the historical catalog book here, and we're going to go just for fun, 6.5 and above over the last, let's go the last, for fun, 1000. Okay, I'll go back to the year 1000, and we're going to draw just a little area out here around Tajikistan area. I'm kind of curious to see exactly what's going on specifically here, historical for only this area, And let's see what we got, 6.5 and above. Earthquakes loading. That's taken a while, so I'm assuming there's going to be quite a bit here, hopefully. This page has had some issues in the past as far as loading these quakes, and it looks like that may be just one of the nights. Oh, there we go. Goodness, that took a little while. There's the activity there in eastern Afghanistan. We know that area sees some, quite a bit of earthquake activity. The one today, right here in the 6.8, the orange circle, there's a little cluster of some larger movement here in this upper 6s and lower 7 range. The last one, prior to today's earthquake, was back in 2015, a 7.2 earthquake, 22 kilometers deep. And, yeah, historically, it looks like we've had some larger earthquakes than what we've seen today, specifically in this area. Not for sure exactly what we've seen far as damage goes. The DigiFillet report looks like it was up in the red. But the pager and everything is up down to the green, and I'm guessing that's because of the population density and the location of this earthquake, kind of in the mountainous regions away from any major areas of population, which is a good thing. Of course, we all know we had that a lot of large-scale activity out here around Turkey over the last couple weeks. A little bit of migration down south here across Iran, and down south here across the Lebanon area. We've kind of been watching that little uptick in movement. But overall, seismic activity seems to be wanting to point towards something brewing in this area. Not out of the question that we could see something bigger around this area. This is definitely well north of our watch zone that has seen relatively hardly any activity as far as movement goes up around the northern end of the Java Trench northward. But goodness, fairly large earthquake up there today in that region. All right, let's see what else we got here for activity. Outside of Nepal, it looks like we did see a 4.8 early this morning around the Himalayas, of course. this earthquake. China, 4.8, 10 kilometers deep. Doesn't look like any migration of earthquake activity from this afternoon's earthquake there, 6.8. But we'll continue to watch that. Around the Indonesia area, looks like well, a little bit of activity earlier today. Early this morning, way early, a 5.6, just outside the Banda Sea region along that plate boundary, 124 kilometers deep. The latest quake with, that's kind of weird, I'm trying to zoom in and it wants to zoom out. I'm not sure what's going on here. Latest activity shows a 4.9 earlier this evening, 525 kilometers deep, a pretty deep earthquake here in this area. Of course, this is very this is kind of where it all starts. If you look at all the earthquake activity, we tend to look at a region where the deep movement activity tends to get things going within this area, and this is where it all starts. A lot of times with this deeper movement, we'll see some triggering of shallower earthquake activity around this region here, the subduction zone, or further westward along this plate boundary. So we need to watch a couple of these areas here around Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands. They're not seeing too much activity following all this movement around the area. So we'll continue to X marks the spot here for this area of Papua New Guinea. New Zealand area did see, looks like they got a couple threes listed up here on the map, according to, I believe that's the EMSC model. North Island, New Zealand, 3.2, 163 kilometers deep. I'm kind of curious to see where that's at, if that's the Hikurangi subduction zone or not. GeoNet. Weak and above. All magnitudes I meant. There we go. Let's see what we got here. 2.5 about an hour ago near Wellington. There's that 3.0, 137 kilometers deep. That is associated with the subduction zone level there of the Hikurangi subduction area. Another 3.2. 163 kilometers deep, definitely associated with that subduction zone again. 2.9 way down south here. Goodness, that is deep for that region, South Island. All right, let's see what we got here for the earthquake drums across the area. No major earthquake movement. Looking at the broad scale scheme of things, not a whole lot of activity. All right, Big Island of Hawaii. Most of the activity around the Pahala area as normal. Got one earthquake outside of Mauna Kea, 3.2 coming in. Earlier this morning, it looks like 43 kilometers deep. That movement there associated with the Pacific Plate over the hotspot. Alaska area looks pretty cluttered up here, but most of this movement here is all microquake activity. The 2.5 map and above shows only 4 earthquakes above that level. So a little bit of uptick, but all in the microquake range. South America, about the same as we've seen earlier, 4.4, just offshore of the Chile area. Some deeper movement quakes over the past couple days, along with some shallower earthquake movement. And the Puerto Rico Trench, seen about the same here. Let's see what we got here for the West Coast. Texas area, well, zoom into Texas area first. It looks like haven't really seen anything since the last earthquake at 3.1 early this morning, outside of the Pecos, Texas area. Nothing showing up here in Yellowstone. Pacific Northwest looks about the same. Nothing popping up so far. Little explosion as stated here. Into the Northern California area. This activity from early this morning. Things have kind of mellowed out there currently across the area. Bay Area, awfully quiet. Southern California as well. So things are, I mean, there's always movement, right? It's very similar to any major plate boundary. There's always some ones and twos, and here's a look at the 2.5 map and above for California. Nothing in Southern Cal. Most of the activity here from early this morning. A little bit of activity around the Clear Lake volcanic field at 3.2 coming in, and that's associated with the hydrothermal operations out there in the Coast Range in the Clear Lake volcanic field. All right, a glance here at the trimmer department here tonight. Looks like a little bit of movement here and there. Vancouver Island Range, Washington, and also Northern California, the southern end of the Cascadia. Getting in on a little bit of activity, and that could, let's see, where'd my map go? That kind of explains some of the movement that we've seen early this morning here at the southern end of the Cascadia. All right, space weather activity. Space weather. Goodness, where'd it go? We kicked it off the map. All right, or at least off my menu here. Looks like we got a flare going on here with this sunspot that is kind of facing us a little bit further, and we'll be directly lined up with the Earth. That is, which sunspot is that? 3230. It does look like it's growing, getting a couple new areas of magnetic structure down here to the south, but that one is flaring as we've seen. This one here, the one that produced the X flare last week, has just disappeared into the into nowhere land. Still got a little bit of structure out there, but nothing promising. I think our main promise here, as far as any significant flaring goes, is from this regional sunspot here. 3234 is the name of that sunspot. Current overall threat, 99% chance for a C flare. M flare at 50% chance with a 10% probability of some flaring from these sunspots here. Yeah, look at that. It's lighting up. A little bit of brightness coming at us. And it is getting closer to the Earth view direction. Of course, if that does blast off a CME, that will be more than likely geo-effective in the coming days. Right now, we don't have any major threat as far as the auroras go. Things very minimal across the board. No major coronal holes facing us, although we do have 79 turning into view. It does kind of look like it's growing a little bit. That could be promising for the Aurora sky watchers here next week or so as that rotates into view. And of course, it takes a little while for that high-speed solar wind to reach the Earth and create the conditions that we're looking for when it comes to the Aurora. Yeah, but that one looks, goodness, that's pretty bright there. Watch that sunspot pretty closely. Looks like that is popping with a couple C flares right now. Nothing major, but it is lighting up fairly drastically on that image. All right, folks. Hope everyone stays safe out there, and we'll do one more update tomorrow in terms of the potential snow out here in Northern California down at the Sacramento Valley level. I think it's something a lot of folks would love to see, but at the same time, a lot of folks don't want to see. I was up all night last night due to helicopters flying over my house. We've got almond orchards out here where I live, and when it dips down into the below the freezing range, it can cause some damage out there with many of the orchards. So the helicopters fly around. I don't know if they're spraying water or what they're spraying, but they're spraying something in the air to help prevent the freezing of those almond orchards. They are in bloom right now, so it's not a good time to get snow and wind and freezing temperatures. That could be damaging to the crop, to the orchard farmers there. So I was up all night. They were out here earlier, again, flying around. I have a feeling come about 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be woken up again with helicopters flying overhead. It's something I can't sleep to. I can sleep to a fan, I can sleep to rain, I can sleep to a thunderstorm, but a helicopter, yeah, just not very soothing, so to speak. All right, folks, have a good night. Again, catch us back here tomorrow for some further updates on this significant weather system out here. Going to impact the West Coast. We'll catch you guys later. Have a good night. Peace out, everyone.